Today on the Cowbridge kitchen, we are going to be making a cream of tomato soup. Okay, so these are what we're going to be using mostly, apart from a few other little bits and pieces like butter, salt and pepper, a bit of olive oil. These are the main ingredients for our soup, okay? So we're going to need 1 kilogram of tomatoes all in all. I'm going to use some plum tomatoes, tins of plum tomatoes, okay? 400 grams each, so we've got 800 grams there. And then I've got about 6 Spanish tomatoes, which we're going to chop up, and that's going to make us up to about a kilo of tomatoes. So we want them. We're going to have 2 potatoes, peeled and diced, 1 onion, peeled and diced, and about 100 grams, no, it's not 100 grams, 100 millilitres, sorry, of single cream. Okay, so we'll get this veg prepped up, and then we'll get over to the saucepan, and we'll show you what to do. Okay, so over at the stove, we spent 10 minutes or so now prepping up all our ingredients, and we've got them all here, all contained up. Okay, so we've got our onions, we've got our potatoes that we just peeled and diced them, roughly cubed them up. Our 6 Spanish tomatoes that we had, we just quartered them and threw them in a container. Opened our 2 tins of plum tomatoes and popped them in a container as well. Okay, what we've also got now is a large saucepan, at which we're going to get the heat on this, and we're going to use about 50 grams of salted butter. Okay, so you're going to have 50 grams of salted butter into that pan, let that melt. There we are. So once that butter has pretty much melted in the pan, what we're going to do now is we're going to fry up our onions, okay? So pop all of your onions into there. Grab yourself a wooden spoon and mix them in, okay? And cook them on a low heat, okay? We don't want to burn them, we just want to cook them off, okay, and soften them up. We don't want that butter to sort of go brown, we don't want that butter to burn, okay? So pop that onto a low heat and let them cook off for about 5 minutes. And there we are. So once those onions have softened, and they've been cooking now for about 5 minutes in this pan of butter. Once they've softened up, what we're going to do is we're just going to throw all of our tomatoes into there, okay? So you want to get your plum tomatoes, they can go straight in, and all the juice as well. Our 6 Spanish tomatoes, they can go straight in as well. What we're going to do now is we're going to get the heat up on these now, mix them in. There we are, and we're going to leave that to cook for about 15 minutes. Okay, so our tomatoes have been cooking now, simmering away in here for about 15-20 minutes or so. So if we pop the lid off these, take a little look, and I'll show you what we've got. Oh, there we are. There's a lovely smell coming out of that. As you can see, they're bubbling away. So at this stage, what we're going to want to do is add some salt and pepper to season it, and then we'll pop in about, I don't know, 750 mils of water and cook it off. Okay, so what we're going to do now is add some salt and pepper to taste. Okay, 3 or 4 good shakes of pepper into there. Two or 3 good shakes of salt into there, and get that all mixed in. In fact, I'm going to pop a little tiny bit more pepper in mine, just because I quite like my tomato soup to have a bit of a kick to it. Okay, so at this stage we're going to add 750 mils of water to it. There we are, 750 mils of water into our mix. Get that mixed up. Get the heat back up on there now to bring that back to the boil, okay? And lastly, we'll throw in our potatoes. There we are, mix them in. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to cover this up with our lid, bring it to the boil, and then simmer it for 1 hour. Okay, so our soup has been simmering here now for a little over an hour, probably about an hour and 10, hour and 15 minutes, okay? We get the lid off that, and that smells pretty delicious. Okay, so what we're going to do with this next, we've got another saucepan on just over the other side and a food processor. We're going to get this soup now into the food processor and blend it down to a puree. So there we are, we'll take our bowl off the processor. What we're going to do then is we're going to ladle this in, a ladle at a time, okay? Trying to get as much of the lumps in there as we can, of the tomatoes and the potatoes. Get all of that in there. Not so much worry about the fluid at this stage, but get it in there as much as you can. There you go. And what I'm going to do is I am going to do this at 2 goes. So we're going to call that number 1. We can set that aside. I'm going to pop this now back onto our motor, like so. Click him in. Make sure we put the lid on. Schoolboy error if you don't, and it's going to make one heck of a mess. That on there. Clip it all in. Clip it all in, and then we're going to process this down now to a puree on a low power for a few minutes. And there we go. Okay, so that took about 3 or 4 minutes to get that into a puree. Let's get the lid off him. Set that aside. Okay, so what we're going to do now at this stage is we're going to take this processor bowl off, and we're going to tip the soup now into a fresh saucepan, okay, and then we'll blend the other half up. Okay, so this can go straight into this saucepan over here. We are, so our soup has been blitzed in the food processor now for about 5 minutes or so. It's a lovely puree, it's a beautiful tomato soup now. It's back in a fresh pan and it's back on the stove warming up, so we can just do the last final touches to it, ready to eat. So the last thing we're going to need to add to this soup now, it's been back on the heat for 5 minutes or so. It's nice and warm, it's beautiful looking soup. We're going to add 100 ml of single cream. So we'll pop that in there, mix it up, and then the soup is ready to go. There we are, there's the cream, is all in. We're going to stir that in, looking absolutely delicious. What we'll do now, get that back nice and hot, and that's ready to serve up. And there we are, nice and simple, beautiful tomato soup. Just going to get that nice and warm. We're going to serve that up with some freshly grated Parmesan cheese, some nice crusty bread. Can't wait. There we are guys, one tomato soup. Enjoy.